Welcome. These will be my thoughts on Runaways Season 2, Episode 8, Past Life. The episode is rated TV-14, so this video be, other than the video recommendations, which I will do shortly. Another episode I love, which makes almost the entirety of Season 2. Here's hoping the same will be true of Season 3. And there will be spoilers of the show leading up to and including this episode, and possibly other MCU and adjacent... Yeah. Some video recommendations. Jordan Teresa's Going Analog Physical Media and Niche Video Games. Cat Black's Dating Men Who Want Children as a Trans Woman. J.K. Rowling and the Endless Audiobook Scandals by Bridget Empire. Samantha Lux, The Political Betrayal of the Trans Community, Gavin Newsom. So, I am very excited to see how the season is going to end. I can't help but wonder if there will be, so we see in this one that Carolina definitely does feel some connection still to Jonah, perhaps more so than to the Runaways. I don't know if that extends to the rest of humanity. And, we had the ominous words about, we'll take it all. So I don't know if it's that any of the aliens, whether the original Jonah, I guess does it still make sense to call him Jonah, because that was the doctor's name whose body he took over. If that alien, Jalian, if Jalian and the UFO aliens, Euphalians, if any of them survived and made it into other bodies and we just haven't seen it yet, because that would be a really incredible way to end the finale leading into season 3. But yes, I think I'm gonna try to keep it chronological. So yeah, I like the supposedly last meeting of Pride, and we have another indication that the scientist couple are Jewish. I'm afraid I can't really pronounce it myself, but at least one of them, possibly both, say something when they're doing the toast. Some of them say cheers, and they say one that I have heard other that is a it's gotta be like Yiddish, I think. Anyway, I don't know. Am I working overtime to not come across as come to think of it? No, I'm pretty sure it was Asmongold who said that the thing the Nazis had against these books that had a connection to some Jewish people is that they were written in Jewish. If you know that little about it, you should probably just keep your mouth shut. And sometimes I too need to take that advice. Anyway, let's see. Yeah, I appreciated they pointed out, hey, Nico did this. That was really great, And I want to say Robert was saying, she's still just a kid. She shouldn't have to carry the weight of this. Genuinely good character stuff as usual there. And I think the very next thing is the Gert situation with the college applications. And yeah, Chase, old Lace wants to play. And I really appreciate they have gotten really good at not over, showing too much of Lace, because the CGI just still is not completely convincing. It works when it's close up and it's the animatronic. And Molly, sees it, and I do appreciate this thing about Gert was gonna tell her and say, hey, you can come with, when I turn 18 I can legally adopt you, and this, Gert is not talking to Chase yet, and Yeah, and that's when Nico comes in and is directed to the least funhouse mirror that they have, and boy does Gert struggle to I guess she reads the room, but she can't quite keep phrasing things in a way that fits the room. Yeah, yeah, things are calm. Well, I mean, I guess I don't mean that Jonah being dead or him being dead because you killed him is calm. Thank you, Gert. This was another episode where I felt like the jokes surrounding Gert worked. I thought the stuff with the her social justice warriorness, was yeah. I thought it was a good amount, and the jokes were sufficiently funny. It didn't just feel like we gotta mock the character who cares and has the right opinions about things. Once again, I absolutely do not mind making fun of progressivism. I just think it needs to be like good faith rather than this kind of South Park thing of just like look at these people who care. Anyway, I think that does, and frankly, I almost every good joke I've heard about progressivism has come from progressives. So probably top of the list. Kaylin Conrad, thought that YouTuber had some really great material, and continue to appreciate their coverage of AI and the harm that it's doing. Now, I think that does bring us nicely to the yeah, I think that so that's when Alex and Chase come back, and they're talking about how the food is not as good anymore, and we get a reference to Topher, which did feel a tiny bit casual, because Molly was one of the people talking about it, and it's like, is she okay with the fact, because not that many episodes, and one episode is like a day or something. It wasn't that long ago that she was talking about how they're the bad guys for not saving him. So, but yeah, so they all, yeah, they're all getting ready to eat, and Carolina comes out and says, points out that it was really messed up, and says, she's not doing a mission today. She's taking a day off. And I feel like she already knew exactly what she was going to do, but she's still keeping secrets. And I mean, I do understand, because if Nico finds out that Carolina is going to go look up stuff from Jonah, Nico is not going to let that happen. She might like surreptitiously follow, but she's definitely not going to just sit back and let it happen. I think, does that pretty much cover the but yeah, and they talk about like maybe we should all take a day off, and of course the they do end up going on a mission. It was very cool to see another heist. Not going to pretend like it was quite up to the level of the heist in season 1, but it wasn't nothing either. I felt like they had sufficient tension and suspense and character stuff to keep it compelling. I guess that does, but yeah, Alex saying, guess I should go see if I still have a girlfriend, and that's once again him being a little, the Runaways are sometimes keeping secrets from each other still, because like he kind of knew, but he wasn't really ready to accept it, and it is also like we can appreciate he really wants his father to pay. It was not enough for him to deny his father food and eat right in front of him. Watch your steak. But the dinner is the line. Sorry. And so he goes, and that was also so this is one of those cases where I'm glad I know what is and is not allowed to be shown on TV14 rating, because if this had been R-rated, I would have been terrified for baby Xerxes. And yeah, right in the IMDb trivia, they note that yeah, Xerxes and Darius are indeed, that's the, so that's a pretty cool and it's, see, I can't quite remember if it's history or myth, and my research will sort of look it up again, but yeah, the that is how, so that might be why Tamar's kid is named Xerxes. Anyway, I think that does, yeah, I'm really relieved that nothing happened to the baby, but then they do still get some drama out of it because, Jeffrey confronts Catherine, and, yeah, she didn't know, but that's, you know, something that can happen when she has so long thought, like in general, the members of Pride who are comfortable with violence have so long thought that they could just avoid it hitting them and their loved ones, and that's not how it works out in real life. If you keep doing the wrong thing for long enough, there will be consequences. There's nothing truly bad that you can just keep going, keep doing forever without serious consequences. If sometimes it takes a while. And I think that does bring us to the, yeah, so he talks to them, and yeah, I appreciated Tamar pointing out the recording was supposed to be Xerxes, and now there's gonna have I like her calling Alex Mini Wilder, and I guess, which I guess makes his parents Major Wilders, and Maximum Wilders. I think that does bring us to, so right, to that, obviously. In between we have the bit with, yeah, I completely forgot. But yeah, we've got the, Livy hands in the proof and the alibi, and Flores points out what a problem this is for them and brings in AWOL, and yeah, Catherine is okay with, they'll make the problem disappear. Like, she knows what that means. This is not her first rodeo. And then, after the shooting, the cop insists, this is probably just a gang thing, because he knows that this is absolutely, well, it's the biggest gang thing, you could say. And is that, oh wait, is that what it's, or is it biggest gang in LA? I forget exactly how that phrase goes, but yeah, and Tamar is tries to de-escalate, and says, Miss, officer, we're good here. There's probably somewhere else you could do more good, and points out, he left one gang for another. AWOL did, and I think that is when we get the yeah. So Alex says he's gonna bring the Runaways to Livy so that they can prove the guilty. And I did quite appreciate, like, yeah, genuinely, he did not at all think about the fact that it could be his mother. It wasn't necessarily going to be his father. Like, obviously it was going to be one of the two, but yeah. And yeah, I think that is when they all get out of the car. And I did appreciate Nana B insisting, that's not going to be in her house. So, garage. And when Alex says, Alex Wilder, trademark, upcoming mission. And Livy's like, can I bail now? And Molly just laughs. That was great. And yeah, I did. I sometimes I have such a soft spot for certain things within media, and this thing of like the heist where the voiceover and then close up on the mouth talking, and we get all the details and the planning. That was great. And yeah, I don't know. It kind of made me chuckle the bit with also in part because like Alex is making it more difficult for himself because he could have just said they or them when referring to the I'm afraid I forget what it was called, but he talks about that person is like the boss but still an employee, and then Alex says him, and then okay, I can feel Gert angrily staring at me or her, and then it shows yeah, could just as easily be a woman working that job, but yeah, if Alex had just said they from the start, there wouldn't have been any problem. And I think that does bring us to the so yeah, they end up getting into the room, and it is genuinely it's clever because yeah, like statistically speaking, it is the least likely room to have been you know yeah um to currently be occupied, I think is the terminology. And yeah, I did really like so Molly, you know okay, so she says when it's choreographed, it's not called jumping on the bed. So whatever, so the choreographed movement on the bed, I love that she, he tells her she has to, get out of that room. She just starts on another bed and then actually has music to accompany it. So that's great. And Alex does also reassure Livy about that. And let's see. Yeah, and Nico says she needs to walk to clear her head, and Molly's like, "Can I come with?" She's just so adorable, And Nico's like, "Can you be 60% less chipper?" And Molly's just completely honest, "No." And Nico's like, "Okay, fine, come. You can still come with, And you know, Molly is right. Nico clearly needs to talk about this. Like it's really really eating away at her. And we understand why. It's again good character stuff. She struggles with her emotions because of the death of Amy and the way her parents were about that whole thing. Anyway, I think anyway, that does bring us to, yeah, so Gert and Chase are in the other room, and Chase grabs some chocolates and finds the college applications, and yeah, um, I do appreciate the way that Gert, she doesn't know how to deal with this whole situation. She's not so used to someone wanting to be with her, so just as soon as Chase starts pulling away, she's ready to just leave and not even tell him before and not even ask. So the let's see, I think that's when they they hear the door and they run off, and then they come back in, and just beautiful the way that so they have to get rid of the person working there, but they also because they were in the middle of an argument, Chase dips back into that. I didn't love the thing about how, we're supposed to think, oh, it's so embarrassing for him that he used the word outed to, so it sounds like he's talking about being LGBTQ plus, and it's like, seriously, how is this still a thing? And I appreciate, the episode's like almost 8 years old by now, 7.5, but just, it's so ridiculous. What's supposed to be so embarrassing about being perceived as LGBTQ plus? What wasn't this after the there was that moment in TV, the what do they call it again? The trans. I'm afraid I forget what it's called. But there was like a moment where there was something really positive for trans representation, and so, although I suppose today it's In some ways, even worse. Now, we really got to fight back against transphobia any way we can. Yes, so the Brigitte Empire video was in part about that. The one that I mentioned at the start of this video. Yeah, so but it was funny the way that he's suddenly talking about the yeah, and the thing with divorce lawyer and the whole thing, because like obviously the most efficient way to get her to leave, the employee, is to make it so awkward that she will, because otherwise, because hypothetically, because she says, oh, I'm so sorry, we didn't expect you for several hours. How can we make this up to you? Is there anything you would like delivered to the room? If they say, no, we don't want anything, just please go, that's gonna be like a red flag. Like, wait, newlyweds don't want some kind of like room service. What? Like, there's no way, But if they make it sufficiently awkward, yeah, she's definitely gonna leave. Right, I think that's around the time in the episode where we see Frank go to Leslie, and yeah, every so often he shows he really does have a really unpleasant side to him. I mean, he does at least at first talk to Leslie, but when he finds out that she is gonna stop Pride and the church, yeah, it's I mean, okay, maybe I'd like to think maybe it's not just ego, but I think it's at least partially ego. Maybe he does feel like the church really is helping people. Oh, now I remember what I've been forgetting this whole time. Obviously, we have the... Okay, I'll just finish the thing with Frank. So yeah, Leslie goes to talk to Flores, and Frank gets incriminating pictures and shares them with Aura, and I'm afraid I forget the other one's name, and claims that Leslie was the person who killed. Like, just yeah. Right. The flashbacks in the opening were very nicely done. So I'm slightly unclear on if Giborim does have the kind of reach within the Runaways live action universe that Christianity has in reality in America. I mean, because I can certainly imagine it, considering they've been successfully healing people since at least 1936. Yeah, that went down significantly better than a slightly similar scene in Oz the Great and Powerful, a movie that I still can barely believe I actually managed to watch a second time. But hey, Send Help was coming out. I decided I was going to rewatch everything I could, Sam Raimi. And it was kind of worth it. That movie was... Send Help was absolutely amazing. Anyway, yeah, let's see, and we see so it was 57, I think, that he died, and Joan took over Jonah's body, and very cool to see. I don't very often get to see Julian McMahon speak in his actual Aussie accent, and let's see yeah, that thing about well, the rest of them are scared of the infectious disease, but science needs people who are unafraid. Yeah, be careful what you wish for. And that was also, I think, my favorite time that they've used the whole, Giborim alien lighting thing, was in part because we only see it from, we see the outside of the room and the massive bright light, yeah, and that to me just looks much better than when we see their skin turning the other color. I forget if I've already said in an earlier video on the show, I'm sure it looks great in the comic. I can absolutely see that. Now, anyway, yeah, and then we see him meeting, let's see, so it is Leslie as a child and I forget. I guess her father, wasn't it? Yeah, I think something along those lines. Right. I also like that Janet and Victor are, Janet can be more playful with Victor. She's not still afraid of him. That thing about, let's never mention it again. It's a Aboriginal tradition. What do you know about Aboriginal tradition? And yeah. Let's see. I think that does. Yeah, and then we find out, because like Jonah did say, Oran and Owen have been with us from the start, and now we see they really have. And it's no wonder, because yeah, I can 100% understand why they're so devoted to Gibborim, the church, with the, yeah, having seen Jonah like that. Yeah, that does. And yeah, that means that to this day, they know he hasn't aged a day in, 61 years, I guess it is. Oh, wait, sorry. Because that was 79. Yeah, well, whatever. You know what I mean. Decades, certainly. Whatever. I don't care. I don't major in math. I need to watch that movie again. Let's see. Yeah, so Nico and Molly, they're having the conversation, and then they overhear, it's so weird. The newlyweds were already up there, but then they called from Denver. And then the other guy's like, yeah, we got this call about having to watch out for these teenagers. So that's unfortunate. And of course, Nico, I mean, she doesn't exactly not draw attention, but she has to make it clear to Molly they have to leave immediately, which of course makes it extremely obvious that they are among the teenagers. That yeah, and so they run up and they sent like 10 texts, and it was not at all seen. Alex says, "I'm in," because to him, 90s hacker movies never stopped being a thing. I don't know. I hope that. See, this is where I'm a little bit uncertain the if there was sufficient implied consent, because she was sitting very close to him when she had been you look at her body language. She was much more close off to him earlier in the episode, and she did say, most guys don't ask. She did like it better that he asked, but yeah. I mean, I guess at the end of the day, she is definitely a character who would, tell him that's not okay if it wasn't. So yeah, I think right. So Chase at the end of the argument shoves the college applications into the fondue. And I appreciate that it's only when he is about to bring up their issues with the other runaways that that Gert threatens to do the same to the Fistigons, because she could have, but yeah, and I think that does cover the entire. Yeah, so they all have. Right, I really like when Jeffrey confronts Catherine, and she is clearly upset, although she doesn't particularly let him see, at least not the full extent of it. And he goes to Tamara and does give the money, and her saying, you better watch out. That was really cool. So I have, I'm on the record as not being the biggest fan of, I guess, the thing is, when you do the hell hath no fury like a woman scorned trope, you got to be really careful to not dip into misogynistic territory, because like it's such a silly. Listen, I am a cishet white man. When I was a child and teenager, I was surrounded by other such, and let me tell you, boy, do a number of them love revenge. Like, I'm not going to claim that no woman ever seeks revenge, but the idea that that's like something women do and men don't is completely absurd. I won't give details, but I remember one situation where someone, for several years, for as long as I knew them, they did not forgive what I would personally argue was a remarkably minor infraction. Now, I think that does brings. I feel like there's at least one more thing I really want to make sure to say. I also like the thing about, we're all scientists and real estate. But yeah, so Carolina, and yeah, it is kind of cool to see Vaughn again. I don't know. There's just something. He's also kind of adorable, and I love this how culty the thing about, he's like, they said these horrible things like that you had given up the light. Oh, and murder and kidnapping. I feel like those last couple of things are worse than the first one, but okay. And yeah, she manages to get him to get her into Jonah's without anyone seeing. And she does find the message, and it is genuinely clever. Like, so she basically says, I can't believe he's really gone. And then YZ says, voice recognition, Carolina. Because if Carolina is saying, I can't believe he's really gone, that means she's talking about Jonah, so that's, yeah, very, very nicely done on that. And, yeah, her getting she got the message. Yeah, my critical drinker impersonation is nowhere near as good as that of the Morbid Zoo. Already watching, you should rectify that. Boy, that sounds painful. I mean, watching Critical Drinker is undeniably quite painful. Anyway, I think that does cover the... I feel like there's one more thing that I really want to say. Flores saying, I have liked these little envelopes that I've gotten from you. I don't think he's going to let them quit. I think that's why, because he seems genuinely excited that they have Molly there at the end. I guess to yeah, I think that's also, I would have liked if I understood a little bit better why Molly ran back. I guess the idea is, oh no, I just realized, of course, by letting them in through that door, it means they're not going to run in the other direction and potentially catch the rest of the Runaways, who are, once again, living up to their name. But yeah, very tense. With that many around, I can imagine that she won't be able to fend off. I mean, they'll probably have like tasers and such. So yeah, that is worrying. But I'm definitely imagining that next episode is going to have them demand a ransom from the scientist couple. And I think that, and that's this thing of them trying to dissolve pride, if that is very much, you may be done with the past, but the past isn't done with you. I feel like there's one more thing I really wanted to make sure to say. I appreciated the weight of Alex realizing his mother killed Darius, and genuinely clever, this thing of like, well, the actual footage from that room was erased, but security camera footage of, they were expecting it to be Jeffrey, it ends up being Catherine. Wilder going into the building. Yeah. Okay, there's definitely at least one thing left for me to say. The let's see. Yeah, I'm genuinely worried about if Carolina is going to feel more of a connection to the aliens, especially like right now there's not much she can necessarily do, but I don't know, did we hear the entire message? I can imagine not. Like it might have something about how to contact them or something, and maybe she's gonna, you know, I could see her siding with other aliens, and maybe now instead of like maybe if a bunch of them take over, you know, human bodies and then start like invasion of the body snatchering, this whole thing, that could maybe season 3 is you know the Pride Parents and the Runaways teaming up to figure out how to deal with that situation, because that's gonna take something up. And also like it seemed like it kills the human host to use that necrosis gel squirt gun thing that the scientist couple designed. If there's a bunch of humans inhabited by the aliens and that there could just be more, then that's not quite going to be the solution. Maybe they can modify it or something. Maybe Robert can bring back the, maybe he can make more. So several of them can be running around with that little gadget thing that harms the alien himself. Maybe they can find something to get the alien out of the human body without killing. Because didn't seem like that was the thing before in the flashbacks and such. But that could be something, because obviously they're going to need something to spend season 3 doing. Yeah, I think that does. I liked Nico deciding, she doesn't want the staff anymore, and Molly saying, but with these powers we can do good. Yeah, I think that does cover the entire episode. Yeah, really looking forward to more. It's actually like I'm genuinely, in the first season I was hopeful that the show would get better. I've always found something to really appreciate about the show right from the very first episode. But this time, even more so, it's gonna. I know it's self-imposed. I'm not like complaining. I'm just saying I really am gonna miss the show until I get back to it after the which like the next Marvel thing is. I guess I shouldn't make promises just in case that show. There's at least one other show that I might do. Anyway, I think that does pretty much cover everything that. Yeah, the it was cool seeing McMahon one more time. I mean, I'm not sure we're gonna get more of him on the show. I mean, I guess hypothetically they could do more flashbacks or maybe more voice stuff for him in season 3, but yeah. It was also cool seeing him again. It's been a little while since I saw him play a character that's, not like evil, as yeah, as the Doctor. But he was great for that kind of role as well. Yeah, I think that might cover the no, there's at least one more thing I really want to make sure to say. I just gotta, okay, so mentally fast forwarding through the episode. Promise it's not gonna take very long. It's a good bit, but I already talked about it. There's what was the last thing? Yeah, I think the no, it wasn't that. Yeah, I I don't know, maybe that does cover everything then. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to more. Yeah, I also really appreciated the point, there were several things about how, you know, I mean, I don't think it's random that specifically, you know, now that Darius has been murdered, you know, we have one young black woman trying to prove his innocence, and one, you know, I mean, not old, obviously, but one with a little bit more life experience, in Tamara, who knows how dangerous it is for black women to try to get actual help from the police when something wrong has been done to them. That is a very powerful and sadly accurate commentary on the state of policing in America.